Remy, a young rat with a perfect sense of taste and smell, dreams of becoming a chef like his idol, the late Auguste Gusteau. However, the rest of his colony, including his brother Émile and his father the clan leader Django, are interested in food only for sustenance. The rats live in the attic of an elderly woman's house. One day, while scavenging the house for ingredients, Remy and Émile accidentally reveal the colony to the woman. The rats are forced to flee, and Remy is separated from the others. He goes down the underground sewer system and, encouraged by an imaginary Gusteau, eventually finds himself above the kitchen of Gusteau's restaurant in Paris. When Remy notices the restaurant's garbage boy, Alfredo Linguini, attempting to fix a soup he ruined, he jumps in and fixes Linguini's mistakes. Linguini catches Remy in the act, but does not reveal him to Skinner, Gusteau's former sous chef and the new owner of the restaurant. Skinner confronts Linguini for tampering with the soup, but when the soup is accidentally served and proves to be a success, Colette Tatou, the restaurant's only female chef, convinces Skinner to retain Linguini so as to uphold Gusteau's motto, "Anyone can cook." However, Skinner demands that Linguini replicate the soup to keep his job. Skinner spots Remy trying to escape and orders Linguini to take him outside and kill him. Once they're alone, Linguini discovers that Remy can understand him, and he convinces Remy to help him cook at Gusteau's. The two learn that Remy can guide Linguini's movements like a marionette by pulling on his hair while hiding under his toque. Together they are able to reproduce the soup and continue cooking at Gusteau's. Colette begins Linguini's training in the kitchen, begrudgingly at first, but comes to appreciate someone heeding her professional advice. Remy reunites with Émile and the clan, but while Django tries to convince Remy that it is impossible to change humans' disdainful nature towards rats, Remy affirms that change is nature. Skinner learns through a letter from Linguini's late mother that Linguini is Gusteau's illegitimate son and the rightful owner of the restaurant. When Remy discovers the letter in Skinner's office, Skinner chases Remy around Paris to retrieve it, but Remy gives it to Linguini, who forces Skinner out. The restaurant thrives as Remy's recipes become popular, Linguini's life improves and he develops a romantic relationship with Colette. Ratatouille is a 2007 American computer-animated comedy film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. The eighth film produced by Pixar, it was written and directed by Brad Garrett, who took over from Jan Pinkava in 2005, and produced by Brad Lewis, from an original idea from Bird, Pinkava and Jim Capobianco. The title refers to the French dish ratatouille, which is served at the end of the film, and also references the species of the main character, a rat. Set in Paris, the plot follows the rat named Remy, who dreams of becoming a chef and tries to achieve his goal by forming an alliance with a Parisian restaurant's garbage boy. The film stars the voices of Patton Oswalt as Remy, an anthropomorphic rat who is interested in cooking, Romano as Alfredo Linguini, a young garbage boy who befriends Remy. Holm as Skinner, the head chef of Auguste Gusteau's restaurant, Janeane Garofalo as Colette Tatou, a rôtisseur at Gusteau's restaurant and the staff's only female chef, Peter O'Toole as Anton Ego, a restaurant critic, Brian Dennehy as Django, Remy's father and leader of his clan, Peter Sohn as Émile, Remy's older brother, and Brad Garrett as Auguste Gusteau, a recently deceased chef. The development of Ratatouille began in 2000 when Pinkava wrote the original concepts of the film. In 2005, following Pinkava's departure from Pixar, Bird was approached to direct the film and revise the story. Bird and some of the film's crew members also visited Paris for inspiration. To create the food animation used in the film, the crew consulted chefs from both France and the United States. Lewis interned at Thomas Keller's The French Laundry restaurant, where Keller developed the confit bialdi, a dish used in the film. Michael Giacchino composed the Paris-inspired music for the film. Ratatouille premiered on June 22, 2007, at the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, California, with its general release June 29, 2007, in the United States. The film grossed $623.7 million and received widespread critical acclaim for its screenplay, animation, voice performances, and Michael Giacchino's score. It also won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature and was nominated for several more, including Best Original Screenplay. Ratatouille was later voted one of the 100 greatest motion pictures of the 21st century by a 2016 poll of international critics conducted by the BBC. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported a 96% approval rating with an average rating of 8.50/10 based on 251 reviews. The site's consensus reads, "Fast-paced and stunningly animated, Ratatouille adds another delightfully entertaining entry and a rather unlikely hero to the Pixar canon." On Metacritic, it has weighted average score of 96 out of 100 based on 37 reviews, the highest of any Pixar film and the 21st highest film rating on the site. In late 2020, users of the social media app TikTok crowdsourced the creation of a musical based on the film. A virtual concert presentation of it, produced by Seaview Productions, streamed for 72 hours on TodayTix beginning January 1, 2021 to benefit the Actors Fund in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is directed by Six co-creator and co-director Lucy Moss from a script adaptation by Michael Breslin and Patrick Foley, both of whom co-executive produced the concert with Jeremy O. Harris. Meanwhile, Anton Ego, a food critic whose negative review of the restaurant indirectly led to Gusteau's death, learns of its rising success and announces he will dine at the restaurant. After Linguini takes credit for Remy's cooking, he and Remy have a falling out. Pressured by Émile and his own frustration, Remy hastily leads his clan to raid the restaurant's pantries for food. Linguini arrives mid-raid to apologize, but upon discovering the raid, furiously drives all of the rats out, Remy included. The next day, Remy is captured by Skinner, but is promptly freed by Django and Émile. Linguini reconciles with Remy and reveals the truth to his staff, who all walk out, feeling deceived and betrayed. However, after being reminded of Gusteau's motto, Colette returns to help. Impressed by Remy's determination, Django and the clan also assist, cooking under Remy's direction while Linguini waits tables. When Skinner and a health inspector attempt to interfere, they are bound and gagged. Remy creates a variation of Ratatouille which reminds Ego of his mother's cooking. Astounded by the dish, Ego asks to meet the chef, but is told he must wait until the restaurant is empty. Upon being introduced to Remy, Ego is stunned. However, he writes a glowing review that states that he has come to understand Gusteau's motto, and describes Remy without revealing that he is a rat as nothing less than the finest chef in France. Eventually, Skinner and the health inspector are released, and the restaurant is shut down, stripping Ego of his job and his credibility. However, Remy, Linguini and Colette open a bistro, La Ratatouille, to continue Gusteau's legacy, which Ego invests in and frequently visits. The rat colony settles into the bistro's attic as their new home.